Okay, and we want to take a look at what impact this dispute could have on Canadians, specifically the individuals and the overall economy. CBC's Brett Ruskin is in Halifax.
Natasha, widespread, broad impacts. I'll take you through 4 different categories. We're going to talk about Fords, we're going to talk about food, farming, and faucets. So Fords, first of all, they were some of the vehicles that I saw coming off of a ship this morning into train cars like this one. These are specific train cars that transport vehicles across the country. There are not just Fords, but there's also that I've seen so far through this port, through the port of Halifax, Mercedes, Lexus, Volkswagen, Toyota, other cars as well. These cars are not moving. So that's one issue caused by this rail stoppage. We also are looking at food, so more broadly impacting people all across the country. We are likely going to see some shortages in some places of some perishable food items, whether it be from bananas to even frozen French fries. That could be in short supply in some areas, maybe depending on the logistics and the circumstances of getting that food to store shelves. Speaking of food, if we expand out to farming, it is the harvest season for many crops in some parts of the country right now. And so once that food or the grain is off the field, it has to go directly to food processors. There's no way for the farmers to hold that surplus material, that surplus food or grain at their facilities, and they rely on trains to do that work, to move that product. If the trains aren't working, that's going to cause some stress for farmers. And finally, faucets. We talk about chlorine for a moment. Chlorine is what many municipalities use to keep their tap water safe to drink. The thing about chlorine is that there's some regulations around how much chlorine, how much quantity you're allowed to keep in one place. And so there's not a huge surplus that municipalities have on hand because they can have a next train shipment at any time, but not now. So difficult to move around as well. We have heard from industry officials that there could be some boil water advisories if this rail stoppage lasts 1 week or 2 weeks, depending on the municipality and how much chlorine they had on hand as of today, essentially. So that's just a few of the many, many impacts of this stoppage.
That report from Brett Ruskin. Now, Brett just said something that people really need to pay attention to, because this work stoppage could spark new boil water advisories right across the country. The reason for that is most Canadians get clean drinking water, which is provided by municipalities, and those municipalities depend on chlorine. So for more on this, we have reached Alan Robinson. He's the Group Vice President of the Commercial and Supply Chain of Chemtrade, a chemical manufacturing and handling company. Alan, thank you very much for making time for us today. I want to begin with the kind of impact you're already seeing from this lockout and what it's doing to chlorine shipments.
Yes, thank you for having me on today. What I would say is, although today is day 1 for the rail strike, technically we have not been able to ship liquid chlorine since Monday of last week due to the embargoes and moving the safety material off of the rail. So we are now on day 11 of no shipments of chlorine to our bleach manufacturers, who will then supply bleach for this safety of drinking water for all the Canadians.
And so what does that mean if chlorine is not getting shipped out to these municipalities?
Yeah, as you work through the value chain and inventory levels come down, at some point we will see some boil water mandates in place. And that's what I would expect to see here over the next coming weeks.
So just walk me through a timeline then. If you haven't been able to ship out any chlorine since Monday, how long before how much supply is already there before you start, or the city start issuing these boil water advisories?
Yeah, it's hard to estimate exactly when and pinpoint every municipality, because they're all going to have different positions in terms of inventory, same as the bleach manufacturers. But here would be my estimate. We haven't shipped in 11 days. Now that we're on a full strike, it's going to take another 5 days to unravel to get rail moving. Bleach has about a 2 to 3 week shelf life in temperatures like today. And so I would expect that in 2 to 3 weeks, all those inventories have been pulled down, and you'll begin to hear municipalities with boil water mandates sometime in that window.
Yikes. Okay. And this may not be your area of expertise, sir, but not everyone will follow those boil water advisories. So should we anticipate that people are going to start getting sick if they don't?
Absolutely. Chlorine's the essential material to disinfect your water to make it safe for you to drink. So people could get sick. if they're drinking water and they're not boiling it to make it clean. So,
is it possible to get that chlorine onto trucks and get it moving to the municipalities that way?
no, there are government regulations both in Canada and the U.S. that you can only ship chlorine by rail.
Okay. So describe to us, are there any alternatives? Do the cities have backups? It's just so astounding that we could be in this situation across the country. I don't think many Canadians have thought of this aspect, that even the tap water that you take for granted when you turn on the taps in the morning could be compromised by this labor situation. So walk me through what backup systems we have.
Yeah, as soon as we deplete inventories of bleach, now bleach can ship by truck to the municipalities, but as soon as that goes, there's no backup. You will go into a boil mandate.
Wow. Okay, so hopefully this thing will get resolved soon, but if it doesn't, if it goes into next week, what are your biggest concerns?
My biggest concern is all boil mandates going across. And then there'll be tremendous pressure, even when it does unravel and we're able to start moving rail again. I expect you will see still some issues with inventory levels or potential boil mandates, even if we unravel it today.
Alan Robinson, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.